Finding fish is one part of the puzzle that you have to put together, whether you're using 2D, live scope, down scan, side scan, whatever the case may be, or you're fishing on the bank and you find a piece of structure that you want to fish. But once you find that puzzle, because every single thing you fish is just a different puzzle that you're buying from a store, so to say. How do you put those pieces together to have the best success? That's what we're going to be covering on today's video, is how to eliminate those columns of water to see where those fish are biting or they're not biting. What's going on, guys? Stephen Turner here with Crappie Man Jigs. Welcome back to the channel. On today's video, we're going to be covering exactly that. We're going to be breaking down a scenario, and I'm going to show you how you can eliminate those columns of water on every single cast. So you're not wasting time. You're putting more fish in your boat. And these are just stuff I've picked up on over the past 20 plus years of catching crappie. So we're going to break this down. We're going to whip out the whiteboard. We're going to have fun with it. So stick around. Make sure you smash that like button. And if you haven't subscribed, welcome to the Crappie crew. It's right down there and it's free. All right. So the legendary whiteboard. We are here. Got to find my marker. All right. So what we're going to cover today is exactly what I was saying, like a water column. So we're going to start here with, we're just going to do 20 feet of water. So this would be 0. This would be 20 feet of water. We'll do 15 here. We'll do 10, and we'll do 5. So right there, that's what we're working with right now. So essentially, if you're on a graph, you're going to have, you know, your bottom here. We'll put the bottom at about 18 feet of water right there. So we got 18 feet of water right here. Our boat is essentially right here. So this is where your boat is going to be. Now, we're thinking like this is on the trolling motor. I know that's kind of elementary, but I just want to bring that out there for somebody that doesn't understand. This is the front of the boat. So now, what are we fishing? We're fishing a brush pile. So this is going to be our brush pile. We're going to make it look like a tree. I'm a bait maker, not an artist. So we got a brush pile right here. Now this brush pile is going to top out at 10 feet. So 10 feet. So when you're fishing, no matter what you're fishing, bridge, brush pile, dock, whatever, where that brush pile tops out is normally where I try to start. So if I scan over this, like this is my boat right here, and I scan over this and I see little arches on top. So let me draw these out real quick. So it's going to be little arches on 2D that look kind of like that on top of whatever brush pile you're fishing. If I scan over this, this is a brush pile I want to fish. Now, if these arches were not here, I'm going to keep going until I find something that looks similar to this. Now, these arches may be closer to this brush pile, but if you can distinctly see black or white under that separates something from that brush pile, there's probably fish on it. Now, finding fish, like I said, it's just a piece of the puzzle. You've got the 4 corners. Now, you've got to figure out how to get the fish to actually commit and bite, and figure out where they're biting at. So in order to do that, let me put the top on this thing real quick, because holding it with 2 hands was hurting me. All right, so in order to do that, we're going to start, you know, this. Well, we didn't even see how far away is this brush. We're just going to say this brush is 10 feet away. So 10 feet away from the boat. That's probably too far for what I'm now. Let's do 5. The brush pile is 5 feet away from the boat, just to explain this better. So everything that I'm going to explain, you could essentially use a slip cork and make it further. But for using your trolling motor or getting right up on the brush pile or right up on the dock, right up on the bridge, this is how I fish. Like, this is 100% how I fish. If I'm not scoping, this is how I'm fishing. So I got the brush pile 5 feet away from the boat. Now, my first initial cast, you know, we've got a marker buoy somewhere in here, or I know exactly where this brush pile is at. you've got to have some way to figure out where that brush is at after you find it. So marker buoys, they're really cheap at Walmart. You can pick them up on Amazon. Throw a marker buoy out. So you got a marker buoy. So something, you got live scope, you can see it. You got something, you're right up under, you know what I mean. Just, you got to know where the hell the brush pile is. Come on. So your first initial cast is going to be right around this area, correct? So you're going to throw from your boat around this area. So that's going to be, I don't know, 3 feet past the brush pile. All right, so this is going to pendulum. So pendulum, 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 pendulum. And you're going to be roughly, if you make an 8-foot cast, you're going to be roughly at 5 feet out for this brush pile, 8-foot cast. You're looking at about, I don't know, 6 feet. So you're going to pendulum probably around this area right here. And that's going to be exactly on top of these fish. Now, in order to eliminate that piece of water, you're going to make 5 or 6 casts, the same cast, and you're going to pendulum past these fish at this depth. So this cast is going to give you this depth right here. Now, this isn't like 100% foolproof. Jig head sizes, the type of jig you're using, minnows, whatever, is going to have a lot to do with how your cast pendulum back to the boat. Now, you may not even want it to pendulum. You may want to count down 1 or 2 seconds and then wind past them, which is fine. But the trick is, with all this that I'm trying to explain, you've got to remember what you've done to make that cast. Because if I throw out 8 feet and it pendulums on top of these fish that are about, 8 to 9 feet deep, on top of this brush, on top of the brush, not in the brush, on top of the brush. You want Crappie's feet up. I have caught maybe 3 crappie in my life with live scope with them coming down to hit it. I'm just saying. But they feed up, so you want to be above these fish. You want that bait to pendulum or wind across the top of this brush pile over top of the fish. Now, you may cast this 6 or 7 times and you don't get a bite. And then you're not paying attention. So then you cast and you cast right here. So it doesn't go the 8 foot out anymore. It goes 6 feet out. And then you pendulum this way. So you're about, a foot or so above the fish. And boom, you got hammered. You got a nice slab. You got a bite. But if you weren't paying attention, you're going to cast again and you're going to go to 8 feet. And it's going to pendulum back down here to where they wasn't biting. So maybe eventually you'll get back to it and you'll do this cast, or maybe you'll do a shorter cast right here and it'll pendulum this way and you won't get a bite. So basically what I'm trying to say is you've got to pay attention. Now, I'm not saying you have to write it down every time you pass, like, oh man, that one went way over there, let me write this. No, that's not what I'm trying to explain here. I'm trying to explain repeated casts catch limits. Figuring out how far that jig is going down in your head. It doesn't have to be scientifically proven. It doesn't have to be, I don't even know what word I'm trying to think of. It has to be in your head that that's what you're doing. If I throw out a 1/16, 10 feet out, and it pendulums back to me, in my head, with how high my boat is from the water and how high my seat is, and I'm using a 7-foot ACC because ACC is, the best rod that money can buy. Come on now. I know with a 1/16, I should be fishing 8 foot deep. In my head. In my head. That's where I'm at. Now, is that true? I have absolutely no idea. I could use live scope to figure it out, but at the same time, you've got the confidence that that's where you're fishing. So on the next cast, if I throw 8 foot out, I believe I'm fishing 6 to 7 feet deep. If those fish are in that depth, I should be getting a bite. Now, if they don't bite there, I'm going to throw out 5 feet, and then I'm going to fish a little bit shallower, and then I'm going to fish a little bit shallower. And if I'm going to make those many casts, if I don't get a bite, I may A, change my lure, or B, we're going to go find some fish that want to bite. You've got to have multiple brush piles. You got to have multiple spots. You throw all your eggs in one basket, you're probably going to drop them and you're going to lose them. So you could also reverse that process too. You could start shallow. Pull up to a brush pile, throw out a marker buoy, use your live scope, whatever. Cast 6 feet. You're going to fish 4 feet above that brush pile, depending on what depth it is. Obviously, if you're fishing 30 feet deep, don't try to fish 4 feet deep. Wherever that brush top is, that's where I like to start. If I see a brush that is 10 foot tall and 20 feet of water, I'm going to start at 8 foot. So I'm going to make a 10-foot cast, and in my head, I have the confidence that my jig should go right above them. Now, another cool trick that you can try, now it may cost you some money to learn, but if you cast out and you don't feel the brush, so your jig goes down and you don't feel the brush, I call it brush ticking. I will get right up on top of that brush and I will drop my jig down and I will keep letting out line and popping it every so often until I hit that brush. Now either A, you're going to get hung, or you're going to be able to feel the brush, and then you can take that jig out of the brush and make a couple cranks up and you should be in the perfect strike zone on any brush pile. That should be theoretically where you get 90% of your bites. Now I have had days where I have a video from like 2 years ago. I was fishing a brush pile with live scope, and the only way that they would bite it if I was 4 feet above them, like the fish were here, my jig was here, and you had one of them get interested in that jig and actually come up and eat. Now, if I fished right in front of them, right on their head, they didn't want nothing to do with it. But like I said in a million videos, or however many videos, we got over 1,000 videos on the channel now. Fish have brains. They're all not the same. Throw a crappie man green and catch them all. I was trying to rhyme there. I don't even know. But to take everything out of this video, just basically just a quick, 15-minute tip video or 12-minute tip video. You find your brush pile in 2D, down scan, whatever. You find fish around it. They will look like arches like this. Now, if you have a 2D, a down scan, they're going to be dots. They're going to look like pieces of rice. Set your boat up so you know exactly where this brush pile is. You don't want to be throwing out in the middle of nowhere. Those fish probably ain't out there. You might get one every now and then. But this is brush pile fishing. This ain't open water fishing. Come on now. You got to find this. This is your puzzle. And then you position your boat. You take your 164, your 132, your 116, your 124, your 1/8 jig, the one you're confident with, and you make multiple casts at different lengths, different angles, different retrieves. But to put the puzzle together, you have got to remember what you did. Because as soon as you get that one bite, that's the cast that you need to make 20, 30, 40, 50 times. Then move. Because, you can put the puzzle together and the fish got brains. You may only get one off one brush pile. And that's the name of the game. That's why it's called fishing and not catching. But if you learned something from today's video, make sure to drop a like. Subscribe if you haven't. And I'll catch you on the next one.